We are underneath the car. We got the wheel off. Both sides are going to be the same way, by the way. This replacement is fairly simple. Well, I'll say it's more straightforward. The only difficult part is getting access to some of the things. So here's our new one. It's basically 2 bolts on this side, a bolt on this side, and then your ball joint has a nut on it. The ball joint holds on your knuckle, and then the other side holds it to the vehicle or to the chassis, whatever you want to call it. So here's your first one. You can see that my bushing is pretty bad shape. That's one of the reasons why I'm replacing these. And then there's one side, and then the difficult part is the other side is, let's see, is behind there. And this right here is your engine mount, and that's blocking it. So that's where the difficult part is coming in. So what you need to do is you need to take a block of wood and a jack and support your engine. And we'll come over here. All right, there's a helicopter. This is your engine mount. We got 1 bolt here, and we got 2 underneath. And to get to the ones underneath, you have to take off your tray here, and they're underneath these things. You got 2 of these, one here, and then one underneath. There it is, I think, right there. Right there. So depending on the age of your vehicle and where you live, it's really going to depend on how hard this makes it for you, because if you live in the northeast of the US, then you're probably going to have a harder time because your bolts are probably going to be in pretty bad shape. And that's unfortunately where this vehicle is from. I lived most of his life in New York, although we live in Texas now, so we're going to have to deal with a little bit of rust, so hopefully it's not too bad. So we're going to go ahead and get started here, and we're going to take off this one and this one here, and then we're going to support the engine, take off our motor mount, and then do the last one. And I think that we can get around disconnecting the whole knuckle. There's your ball joint right there. You just got to take the pin out of the castle nut, and maybe you can squeeze a wrench in there instead of a socket, and we can just avoid taking the whole knuckle off. So that's what we're going to try first. Okay, so we're going to start this whole process on the passenger side, because I'm going to do both sides. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off this plastic underguard. As you can see, mine's already missing some pieces because this car's pretty old. It's a 2009. So basically, to get this off, it's just a series of these clips. So you can use a flathead screwdriver if you don't have one of these tools. There. And then there's several, that looks to be 10 millimeter. Yeah, 10 millimeter bolts. Yeah, so just go around and look for all of them. There's several of them. So 10 millimeter and a flathead screwdriver or a panel tool like this, and take this cover off. So first step. All right, so your under tray is out now. So yeah, it's probably a good idea to lubricate some of these bolts first, especially if your car has seen some salty roads like this one. And I say car because this car is built on a car chassis. You can call it a crossover, SUV, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. So I was able to crack this one free. It's a 19 millimeter. And I just, took my closed in part of the wrench, stuck it on top, cracked it, and then I used the open end wrench to loosen it the rest of the way. And you're gonna need a pickle fork to separate this, but I'm not gonna separate it yet. I'll show you when I do. So now that we have the under tray off, we're gonna go ahead and start loosening some of these bolts here. This one goes to the control arm, so we're gonna loosen this one. And let's see here. Let's go ahead and take these covers off. Let's take a look in there. Yep, this goes to your engine mount. Okay, so this bolt right here is a 22 millimeter. So just gonna stick a breaker bar on there. Like so. There. I'm just gonna break it free. There you go. So that bolt is a 22. I'm just going to break it free right here. Okay. And I'm going to use the impact wrench to get the rest of it off. This one right here is a 19 millimeter. And assume that the other one on the other side is also 22. Okay, so we got a piece of wood and a jack. It's just barely putting pressure on the oil pan. We're not trying to jack up the engine. We're just trying to support it, so don't do too much here. So after that, you got 3 17 millimeter bolts, or excuse me, nuts. So there's one of them. The other 2 are in your holes there, and then remove your top one, and then the whole engine mount should come up after that. Okay, so we're gonna have to lift the engine a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and, this is inside this engine, of course. We're gonna take out this bolt and this bolt, and we're just gonna remove this piece so we can jack the engine up. Okay? We don't have to come up very high, but this is gonna prevent it from going up. So we're gonna go ahead and remove those two. All right, the engine mount is out. That was actually a bigger pain than I was expecting it to be. So basically, you have to loosen this top engine mount bracket. There's 3 bolts. You can see 2 of them. One here, one there, and then there's one underneath. That one's still in, but it's loose. And you got to do that to get enough clearance to actually pull it out. I also removed this bolt right here. It's another engine mount. So 3 different engine mounts on one side that I had to remove to get enough clearance to get the engine mount out. So now this bolt is clear as day. I can easily get it out now. So we're gonna go ahead and remove that one and get the new lower control arm in. All right, everything's loose on the top. So now, oops, we take our pickle fork. We're just gonna get it, maybe from the back side. And there, yep. See that right there? We're just gonna give this a few whacks with a hammer, and then that'll separate it. We're not worried about the ball joint anymore because we're replacing it. So we're just gonna give this end a whack with the hammer. Okay, so after all that is out, and these definitely need to be replaced. This is all dry rotted and cracked. The ball joint is definitely worn out. The bushings here are dry rotted and cracked, and you can see that that's nice and firm, which this is, you can replace individually with these 3 bolts, but since these bushings are all bad as well, it was worth just paying a little bit more to replace the whole thing, even though it was a pain in the tail to remove from the car. So installing is just the opposite. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.